Welcome to Product as a Star. I am your host, Will Cunningham, and on this show, we talk to folks interested in getting the word out about a product, good, service, message, or a call to action. Today's discussion will feature a conversation with Zach Benalloul. Zach, welcome to the show. Now, first off, did I get that right?
Thank you.
How do we pronounce your last name?
Benalloul. Benalloul.
Benalloul. Okay. So
Yes.
Benalloul, Zach Benalloul, please tell us where you're based out of.
Personally, right now I'm based out of New York City. The agency that I'm now under is based out of Phoenix, Arizona. So
Okay.
we basically have two bases in between, but personally I'm based in New York City.
Okay, that's great. You alluded to an agency, so why don't we just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag? Why don't you tell our audience what it is exactly that you do?
I basically have a sports management company, Benalloul Sports Management. We manage, mediate, and pretty much represent professional overseas basketball players. So basically, pretty much from everything, whether it's placing them into overseas basketball situations or into situations in the G League, whether it's their marketing deals, whether it's just anything day-to-day basis needed. We really are the team that they have, and I'm pretty much a big factor in not only recruiting the players, but pretty much also helping all their day-to-day needs and very big on the placement end as well.
Wow, so big on the placement, big on management, day-to-day operations, that service industry type of thing. And why don't you go ahead and tell us how old you are, if you don't mind sharing your age?
I'm 17. 17.
Oh, so then there goes my question of what do you want to be when you grow up? Like you're pretty much doing it. So is this something that you do see? You've chosen your life path, pretty much, right?
Definitely, yes. And I think to be in the blessed position that I'm in, to already be, managing and working with guys who have played at, the top level, I think it already shows how, people are obviously going to look at me differently due to my age. But obviously getting past that barrier already, once I'm into college and past that, I know the respect level will go up for me. So I know things will only get better as time progresses and I get more experience.
Right, things will definitely get better, especially being so young in the space, and then being able to. There's still milestones in your young manhood that you're going to achieve and accomplish, and as you're doing that, you learn life lessons that then will transfer into what you're doing professionally. So I'm fascinated to watch you grow from this point on, and it does bring up the question for me personally: what are you passionate about? Anything outside of sports?
Outside of sports, I've become I'm sort of into the crypto market now. I think
Nice.
that's obviously it's something outside. I'm into stocks, sort of into the finance as well.
Nice.
Just how that side works and pretty much everything about that.
Okay, crypto. Me too. I'm huge into crypto. I'm a software engineer behind the scenes. My own advertising company, and we issued a cryptocurrency about a year ago. It's doing pretty well, but nevertheless, that's fascinating to find out that you have a professional hobby also. like your other hobby is. You're the rappers say you're a legend in two sports, in two leagues.
Exactly.
But you got the basketball and the stocks, and so you're gonna be able to really help. And it's a fascinating side project or side passion which you have there, because you can then also use that expertise to sort of help you with the players on their day-to-day management.
Exactly. Incorporating that off the court is very big for them. Yeah.
Wow. So if you were to find yourself going back to the beginning of this, what was your first player signed, and sort of how did that come about?
Well, my first player that officially signed to me, his name is, I still represent him to this day, Tony Mitchell.
Tony Mitchell. Okay.
Not only a very close friend of mine, I'd almost consider him a brother of mine. He's been really the first person that really, from day one, who had really played at that top level, who had believed in what I was talking about, and really saw me for me, helped me grow in talking to people, helped me grow in pretty much every way. Uh, Actually, recently got to help him get naturalized in Mexico through a coach that I pretty much manage and our company represents, Omar Quintero, who's the Mexican national team head coach. So being able to do that was quite a privilege, and he's pretty much been somebody that's very attached to me, and he was my first guy. Yeah.
Wow. And so shout out to Tony Mitchell for believing. It's always good to get that first guy on board, and then pretty soon they go, hey man, it's like social proof. Somebody believed in this kid. Somebody already took it. Hey, the second guy, the third guy is that much more easier. So how many people would you say that you represent now, altogether?
In our agency, we have about 45 guys.
Wow.
It's quite a lot. Yes, quite a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all together. Day-to-day operations. We have a pretty big team, so we get to, really communicate with our guys. They have that hands-on feel. They have that, real trust in us. So I think it's a very valuable thing to be able to positively impact so many of these men's lives.
Absolutely. And speaking of men's lives, do you have plans on working with women athletes or lady athletes?
Yes, yes. It's definitely, that's a whole other market that, as a group we're looking to tap into. It's definitely something that we've been talking about a lot, especially because of how it's so fast growing, and their overseas leagues are great as well. So that's definitely something we've been talking about a lot, and looking forward to do.
Right. Now, do you play basketball yourself? Do you hoop or
I used to. I mean, always as a
used
young
to?
kid, I've loved basketball. So this is really my passion. You know what I mean? So basketball is definitely, you know, obviously once I figured you know, actually through school, I had made the varsity team. I
Uh-oh. Hold
wasn't
on.
wasn't in
Uh-oh.
10th grade as a sophomore, believe it or not. Um, wasn't in the best condition. I wasn't actually. I'm not going to say I wasn't expecting to make the team, because I was a dog back in the day. So,
Right, right, right.
I was always the hardest worker, and it definitely is translated to my business I'm now in. So, I think that obviously not succeeding there and realizing maybe I don't have the best chance to make it to the NBA is really what
Mhm.
pushed me forward and into getting into the business for sure.
Right. And it doesn't sound like you counted that as a failure. It sounds like you got confidence from
No,
that. And now and
yeah,
it's
I,
it's
I
it,
definitely, yeah,
yeah, that's fascinating because I can tell, like, okay, wow, you got the X's and O's. You can understand, you can speak to the level of the players to a certain degree. So you understand what they're going through because, like you said, you was on the court going through what you were going through on the court and your trials and tribulations. Hey, topped out.
yeah,
Maybe this isn't for me, but I still want to keep it going. That I'm slowing down to pay attention on that specifically because it's really the champion. It's a mark of a champion to understand that, hey, I'm going to take what I learned from something that didn't scale, or maybe that's something that I didn't want to, I didn't hit my goals at, but yet I'm going to use that as optimization data in my next endeavor. So shout out to you for
yeah,
that.
I
That's the
appreciate it.
sign of a champion right there. So do you have any plans to represent talents in any other genres, like other than
Um,
sports, like entertainment or
others,
actor?
definitely. I mean, it's something I'm, really as a group, we're more so looking into. For myself personally, my passion's always been basketball, and basketball's always been what I love, what I know. So that's really what I mainly focus to talk about. But having those other people within our team to also navigate those avenues has been helpful over these past few months. So it's definitely a lot we're looking into, especially on the music side. I mean, it's really wide open. So that's been something that we're sort of strategizing on as well. Music, entertainment. So we're also building in that way. But again, that's a side that's really more to come.
Mhm.
I think also the marketing side on all ends for not just basketball players or entertainment people, but I think influencers is another thing that's becoming very big that we're also tapping into as well.
Okay, brings me to my next question, my favorite question. Will you be my agent? When you,
Most
I mean,
definitely,
not in
if
the.
there's, if there's
All right,
a
go.
opportunity where
All right.
that can happen down the line, and you know, my team and I have the space to do that, definitely I will.
All right, that's what's up. I appreciate it, man. I got it on tape, so. uh, so I wanted to know something. You're a young guy, but I still am fascinated about maybe one of your earliest sports memories to sort of get you into this space. Like, could you share with us that first invite, that first pool of inspiration, being from sports? If you know, what's the early inspiration?
Um, well, the earliest inspiration I would say that I've really had is obviously before getting into the business, I was very into knowing the players. That was always something I've always wanted to be involved with. You know what I mean? And that's
Mhm.
definitely what carries our company, because I feel like we have some of the best relationships with our clients that some other agencies may not. So I think having those relationships back then, knowing some people, meeting some people, knowing some people throughout the business that may or may not have helped me, but still knowing them. And I think having the drive and knowing how to use social media positively, I think that's really what gave me that spark, to really start up.
Mhm.
Um, and knowing about other things that a normal fan or somebody normal wouldn't look into. I was
Mhm.
always, ever since I was young, I've always been a big Miami Heat fan. So
Mhm.
seeing the way that their front office has operated, and not even seeing it, just looking at it from a fan's eye view, to see how they worked out cap situations, meeting Pat Riley on my first ever basketball game when I was young was
Whoa.
definitely a big part of that.
Mm.
Um, so, just kind of watching guys like that in the business and seeing how they've grown, whether or not it's in a different light, I think that's what really navigated me to push me into joining, and really getting involved in this way.
You mentioned Pat Riley, and it reminds me that we all are standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, icons have come before us in your genre too, and mine, software and entertainment. So it's really interesting that you bring him up, and on the topic of what was the early inspiration. It's important to get really good heroes in front of you as a youth and when you're young, because that
Yeah,
gives you a really good high mark to shoot for. So and again, that's the champion code right there. That's the mark of a true champion. um, I did want to know, did you have any mentors?
any mentors in this business directly? So I wouldn't say mentors, because when you're doing business with somebody, it's hard for them to really be a strong mentor.
Right.
But more so people that have helped me and helped me to learn. Um, but I wouldn't say mentors personally in a sense. I wouldn't say there's somebody that obviously there's people I make a call to for advice, but again, the main I'm really a more so I've been moving independently for a majority of the time that I've even gotten into the business. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't say there's been a direct mentor, not per se.
Okay. So do you find yourself watching a lot of tape? As far as research on a guy that might, or
Yeah,
an athlete that might,
definitely
because I'm.
watching a lot of tape, watching a lot of um, transactions, seeing a lot of the guys that a lot of people forget about. Even more recently, to name bigger names just in the last 3 years, DeMarcus Cousins and Isaiah Thomas. I mean, these guys are
Whoa.
having trouble even, and that just shows you on how much of a higher level. And I always give the comparison to people that I'm
Mhm.
potentially, players that I'm about to do business with, or just players in general talking about it, because it's just so fascinating how you could be on the top of the league level, and you could just fall without any reasoning, without any explanation. And, to see guys like that, really have those moments, or really not have that backing maybe that they should have, somebody that's going to push them for where's best for them instead of maybe their relationship. You know what I mean? So to see things like that, that's really what's motivated me to keep moving forward. And, definitely what's helped me in my research for acquiring talent, not only players who have played in the league, but overseas as well. Seeing those guys who have played top level competition in, whether it's Australia, EuroLeague, the CBA, anywhere that's really top, and seeing them, not have jobs now or not be at the level that they're supposed to be playing. For instance, you look at another example, Michael Beasley. That's a guy who was playing in the NBA for years. He was the second pick, and now he's just nowhere to be found. So really seeing these guys and, seeing how it works on a league level, I'd say is really what's helped me in recruiting talent on the overseas level as well. Because I tell guys this all the time, it doesn't just happen on the NBA level, it happens on all levels.
Right. That's those are fundamentals that can carry you off of the court as well in life. So you're giving up a life game too. So this is very impactful. So you're a young guy, college, or are you going straight to the pros? You going straight out of high school to the pros?
I'm definitely going to do college. I think it's a valuable networking skill, and I think it's always important to have an education. You know what I mean? I think being able to be somewhere, having a base, meeting players in college, obviously with the new NIL stuff, and having a company that supports that. I think it's something that could be useful definitely down the line, in having a education, but not just education, but a lot of networking opportunities wherever I may go.
Right. And also that could be in a professional aspect. Also, if you go to a good college, you can get some good recruiting in there and start, talking to some players.
And obviously that's
like
been a very, in my decision-making process, going to a bigger basketball school, Pac-12, Big Ten, it's definitely been important. It's definitely been an important factor, as, there's just so much talent that's coming in there, even if it's the bottom guy, could be any program, they're still going to be getting a good look either for the G League or, a very good place overseas. So,
not for nothing. Also, I remember they were saying something about being able to pay college players. Now that could also lead to a financial opportunity, right?
Yes,
for an agent to be
NIL, name, image, and likeness, for brands to have those opportunities to have, and obviously, college players themselves also having that opportunity to now make some money, off of their name. I think it's a very good opportunity for not only, my team, my group, but I think for the players, it's just a great way for them to really finally bring something in for, however long they've worked.
Right. So, how do you keep track of everything, man? How do you keep track of all of what you have to do?
I'm honestly obsessed. This is something that I wake up every morning, I sleep thinking about. So being in love with your job, and especially when you're, able to do good things with it and work with good people, I'd say it's very important, so that's really helped me keep track, despite obviously still being in high school, believe it or not, and still having those things and having those responsibilities. I've still been able to, and it's definitely hard to manage, because there's sometimes where there's things like, all right, I have physics homework, but at the same time, this guy could sign this massive deal in Greece. You know what I mean? What's more important to work on? This could benefit me for 3 years. This could benefit me for 3 weeks. So, there's definitely hard decisions, especially at my age now, and where I'm at, where I have to obviously decipher and decide and manage my time very well.
Right. Now, we've seen esports emerging, the emergence of esports and e-athletes. Are those guys going to need agents?
Eventually they will. I think once it gets to a point where there are, not only good income coming in, but good, I'd say, publicity and good popularity around it. I don't think it's hit. I think obviously on the sports side, it hasn't hit that level yet. I think there's obviously things coming around it. You have the NBA 2K gaming. I know there's a few others. So I know, it's definitely something that's on the up and up. So I think it will eventually become a pretty big deal. So I think when that happens, I think representation will definitely be involved, because there is a lot of simply money to be made with that business. So
Right. Yeah, sure. I mean, it can, who knows, right? And we see now with technology and everything, our future is somewhat programmable, which is to mean that we can go create our future, the functionality modular, block by block, however, more so now than we've ever been able to do so. Getting, just at least bringing that up as a concept, hopefully something will come from that, because there could be a huge opportunity there. Also, it brings up to mind too the question of the ABA. Do your players go into the ABA, the Reemerging American Basketball Association?
I mean, I have guys that I know who, I think it's good for those guys who don't really have the same opportunities, to show themselves. There has been a new league called the Basketball League, which are in the States, that I have been sending some guys to some teams out there, have some good relationships within the league, which is sort of like another version of the ABA, just on a professional level, where guys are really getting housing, salary, everything, the whole nine, pretty much playing overseas in the States, and getting that film. So that's been more of, what I've been working on that level. But the ABA has definitely been something, some guys do, and it can work, for some guys to get that film and go play wherever after.
Sure. Well, it's, there's all these leagues that, you mentioned, I forget the name of the one you said. I'm not actually too familiar with the one you named. The Big Basketball League, is that what you said?
No, the Basketball League, the TBL.
Okay, the TBL, the Basketball League. What about Big Three? Are you familiar with
Big Three? Has been something that we've been working very hard on for a few of our guys. For definitely a few of our guys, we got and reached out to. We've been reaching out for some as well. I think it's a very big avenue for a lot of those guys who, are a little bit older but can still play, and really can prove it, at that level. It means so much. And there's definitely been a couple of guys that I've been supporting and helping to get in there, and a couple of guys, that now our agency is looking at to, push into that, because there's, again, a lot of money to be made there, and just a whole lot of opportunity for, I think, a vast amount of guys. I think it's going to be a thing of really any age at a certain point.
Right. So as we find ourselves bringing this interview to a close, I'm curious to know, where do you see yourself perfect? If you could design your future perfectly 10 years from now, 5 years from now, what does your ideal future look like for you and your company?
I think, obviously, Lord willing, I think, having a good stable of guys, a household name, I think is definitely our goal. I think in the next 10 years, I mean, we're really here to be the best. We're not here to be the secondary guys or the guys in the back. We're here to, stand in the front and always be in the head. So, it's we want to be the best, and that's really, at the end of the day, that's what we're shooting for, and that's what we're coming for.
Man, I really appreciate this. I got a lot from this. I learned a lot about you. I learned a lot about myself in the process. I'm very excited to follow your career from here on out, and I hope you come back on our program and let us know.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Why don't you tell people where they can find you and catch up with you?
My Instagram is my name, Zach Benalloul. Our Twitter is Benalloul Sports Management. Instagram, Benalloul Sports Management. Website is benalloulsportsmanagement.com. you know, you could find pretty much all of our clients there. You know, we're pretty much everywhere to be found. Just with a quick
Benalloul.
search, you can find all of our social medias and whatnot.
Right. Well, oh, hey, really quick, have you ever, has any one of your players you ever represented made it to like a video game? Because we talked about 2K earlier. You know, because I'm thinking, man, how cool would that be if one of your guys ended up on a video game, you know?
Um, Made it into a video game.
Yeah, like you know, like they went pro and then they like became a you know a high ranked profile player. I mean, I guess a lot of
Yeah,
guys
there
make it
has
on.
been a few guys who we work with who have been in the games in the past, like Ty Lawson, for example. He was
Wow.
all over NBA 2K for a while. Um, you know, we have a few other guys like that who have been involved in video games, and you know, they're known on that scale. You know, currently, I'm not sure if we have anybody who's on the base, but I think
Hmm.
we're pretty close to it.
Man, because I'd be playing that all the time. I'd be like, yeah, it's my guy right here, man. You see this guy right here? I got him in this
Yeah,
game. It's just an ultimate flex, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Well, anyways,
for sure.
again, man, thank you for hanging out, man. We sure appreciate you,
Of
man. Stay in
course.
contact
I
and
really appreciate you having me on.
yeah, man, come back on anytime you're ready, man. You can bring your
Of
players
course.
on. You want to talk
Of course.
and anything like that. You bring your players. Any new endeavors, any new announcements for your company. You come back. You got a place here, man. Product as a star.
Definitely.
All
Definitely. I
right, man.
appreciate it. Well, thank you so
Right on,
much,
man.
man.
Take care.